These women are suffering for the rest of their lives over what was done to them on Lolita Island.
Anybody in these powerful positions have to do is say enough is enough, release the names, release the information. The public deserves to know.
Breaking news tonight. Epstein's creepy dentist chair on his island revealed, and if that doesn't send a chill down your spine thinking of those little girls in a dentist room on a dentist chair on island alone with Jeffrey Epstein. Another bombshell tonight as damning emails emerge implicating everyone from Prince Andrew all the way to high-ups, wealthy, successful individuals within the D.C. stratosphere. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. Joining me right now is Lynn Shaw, founder, executive director, Lynn's Warriors, committed to ending human exploitation of. They know of 20, just off the top of their head, the one source. Nothing has been done. It's delay. The so-called Transparency Act went down. Nobody's in jail. Nobody's named. Nobody's being prosecuted. Girls as young as 12 being ferried over to island to be looked over like they were pieces of candy and a box of chocolates for old guys. Nothing has happened, Lynn. Nothing.
And I don't like saying this, Nancy. I don't think we're really going to see anything happen. We've been talking about this case, fighting for our victims and our survivors for years now. And yes, we just had the files, Transparency Act passed in November. But you know what? There's a lot of silence on Capitol Hill. I just got back from Capitol Hill and I asked a lot of questions and nobody seems to be talking about it anymore. I don't want to hear about we're going to have more files released because these files just prove to us there's nothing really new in them or everything's redacted, so you can't see anything anyway. Our focus is on these victims and their survivors because all of this is, again, this power and this wealth. We're talking about 12-year-olds, okay, 14, 16-year-olds, and nothing is being done. So there is a major failure, a major roadblock, and I really think we're just not going to ever get to the bottom of this. I don't like saying this at all.
Please don't say never. Please don't say never. Please, I've got to have something to believe in. I've got to believe that there will
here's what
be
you believe
justice.
In, Nancy. You believe in these brave women who have come forward, who are demanding, who march on Capitol Hill, who have gone to all the women's caucuses. They're going into all the offices, and they are demanding justice, and that's what we have hope for.
Lynn Shaw, who is hurting now, are the victims. You think they care about third-party investigations, about $1 million worth of redaction? These then girls, now women, are suffering for the rest of their lives over what was done to them on the island.
Yeah, and here's the thinking behind the scenes that I've been told. Delay is the way. We'll keep kicking this can down the road. We will exhaust the public. We'll use everything in our power to not address this, and everybody eventually will just go away. That's what they think. But I'm here to say the group of survivor women that are so strong that have come forward, not only for themselves, but for all the women who have not come forward. I remind everybody, we're talking about children at the time. Rings and all this. Why is this such an issue? Why are they allowed to get away with this?
Well, of course, in the midst of all the accurate analysis, you've got bizarre conspiracy theories emerging. Listen.
They don't want to release the Epstein files because Epstein's not dead. You could not pay me enough money to believe that that man was dead. He was too valuable to the whole system. So instead of him rotting in prison, they faked his death and got him out so he could continue to run everything that he was running. There was no way, absolutely no way, that the bigger powers that be, the leaders of other countries, were going to let him die. He was far too valuable. So someone has him in another location, and he's still running this whole thing. That's what they don't want to come out. Obviously, that kind of stuff is just the tip of it. He's not dead. That's what they don't want out.
Okay, that's making my head hurt. At Karma is a cat 1717 on TikTok. Epstein's dead. Okay, so let's just start from there. Okay, and of course, conspiracy cover-up theories.
They're not this dumb. Trump, Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, they're not this dumb. You don't get into those positions of power by being stupid. And I say this because it's just not sitting right with me. The film that they released, obviously edited, proven that it was edited, missing a minute of time. The whole cover-up here is glaringly, obviously a cover-up. And they're definitely lying, but I don't know why they're lying. What's the angle?
That is from at Brian Wifa Y on TikTok. To Sydney Sumner joining us, investigative reporter, Crime Stories. At first, he sounds a little crazy, but what he's saying is not crazy. There was a portion of the jail video. I'd like to see it as we're talking about it. The jail video the night Epstein was killed behind bars, that was missing. He's actually right.
He is. And they had to eat their words and re-release that video with the missing minutes 2 months later. And all of this coming out with that statement. So they released the surveillance footage that's obviously edited with the statement that there's no more documents to see. Well, what did those 5,000 hours of redaction go into? Because it's not possibly the 220 pages they reviewed and released back in March.
And of course, there's a never-ending stream of theories. Now, I've got to say, Brian Wifa Y was dead on, but listen to this.
New polls are coming out that are showing nearly 70% of Americans, 7 out of 10 people believe that the Epstein case is being covered up right now. It's no longer a conspiracy theory anymore. It's a vast majority of Americans saying, I don't trust what the government is telling me right now. But can you really blame us though? I mean, Epstein died under the most questionable circumstances possible. I mean, the guards were asleep, there's no surveillance footage, and the client list is still sealed. The fact that Republicans and Democrats are uniting on this issue should absolutely terrify the elites.
Actually, he's not crazy either. That's at Devon Politics on TikTok. To Andrea Lewis joining us, partner Cersei Law Firm, Palm Beach, where the whole thing started when Epstein was convicted but got a baby sentence for it. Andrea, I recall a big drug case. It was a triple homicide that was connected to a drug case. A triple homicide. It was very difficult to prove, very difficult. Near the end of the case, I found out the feds had surveillance that they would not give me because it was part of a bigger drug scenario. I'm talking about a drug lord from Colombia was part of this. It was so much bigger than my triple homicide case. And I really wrestled with that. At the end of the day, Andrea, all I could do was what I could do. I prosecuted the 3 murders and got convictions. And here, all of this vast network, this worldwide scheme, the politics, the Oval Office, the Democrats, the Republicans, I know one thing. These men need to be prosecuted, and I want their names. That's what I know is true.
Nancy, we need that information. And I think it's important for each one of us to keep our eye on the ball and to continue to demand it so that we can get justice for these survivors. And what has been constantly talked about in the media, and you've done an excellent job of highlighting it and keeping it in the headlines, is what is the cost of the secrecy that the government is continuing to insist upon? Well, it's this lack of transparency causes a distrust within the public. It causes conspiracy theories. It allows the people who are enablers and predators to have time to cover their tracks. Meanwhile, all anybody in these powerful positions have to do is say enough is enough, release the names, release the information. The public deserves to know, and that is not happening.
Will we finally get the documents necessary to create that client list?
The judges should release those documents.
Depositions, filings, motions, subpoenas, affidavits.
This is what the public wants to see. We're talking about serious investigative materials that function as evidence.
Rob Shooter, Congress is calling on Andrew Windsor, a.k.a. Prince Andrew, to fly over at our expense to testify about what he knows regarding Epstein. Listen.
A congressional letter invites Windsor to testify about Epstein's crimes. It appears Windsor has no desire to clear his name, refusing to comment on Epstein's financial records containing notations such as massage for Andrew.
As Windsor remains silent amid a renewed push for the former royal to come clean, victims are now calling for the rest of his family to answer for him. Marina Lacerda says it's time for Sarah Ferguson and Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie to come forward. Andrew publicly used his daughters as an alibi.
The more documents are released, the more trouble Windsor could face. Stripped of all titles, told to vacate the Royal Lodge, and under threat of private prosecution. Jail time could be a real possibility. Experts believe there is more documentation of Windsor's crimes with Epstein. There's a real danger those records will still not see the light of day.
Why is he being treated differently than everyone else? He's refusing to come and speak to Congress. Why? Because he's got a lot to hide, Rob Shooter.
You're absolutely right, Nancy. Andrew's not going to do this. He's made it very clear he's not going to voluntarily do this. So now it's time for us to make him do it. It's time for King Charles. It's time for the royal family. It's time for the British government to absolutely hand him over. He's not going to go willingly. We've got to hand him over. And until we stand up and do that, he's going to continue to hide, to get away, to slink in the shadows. And so I think it's time now, Nancy, that Britain has to step up. The palace has to step up. His children has to step up and say, here he is. We have to hand him over.
We know that Prince Andrew is now trying to reunite with his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, who has lived with him throughout the years. I don't think they're both going to fit into his new abode. However, we have arrangements for both of them. They're called the Big House and the Big Doll House. They can live separately for a while. More people are ending up as casualties to Epstein, and that would be Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. They are going to have their titles stripped. It's seemingly only a matter of time. They are now turning down invitations from the royal family. They're torn between standing by their dad. So far, they've remained unscathed. What is in their future as a result of all this?
Their future, Nancy, is in the hands of their very shady father. If Andrew can't do this for himself, and he clearly can't, and he can't do it for the victims, which is who he should really be doing it for, do it for your kids. The only way these two princesses have a future in Britain, have a future in society, is if their dad does the right thing. Now, we should point out, historically, this is a man who has always done the wrong thing. So I'm not holding my breath here, and I fear that the children will be punished, although I should say here, they have had an extraordinary life because of their father. And so when we say they did nothing wrong, maybe, but the life they live is because of their privilege. Should that continue now that we know the truth about their dad? That's a debate that people are having. I don't want to punish children for their parents' crimes, but they're part of this story. They're part of this story.
So they're casualties. Sarah Ferguson, grifter, is a casualty, but now Fergie and Andrew are launching a rebrand. What is that?
It is complete stupidity. It is a couple that thinks they have a future and all that they have that's a problem is a PR problem. And it's not. This is much, much deeper. This is unfixable as long as Andrew does not come forward and tell the truth. And if he does tell the truth, we know what that truth is. So that is not fixable here. Any attempt to rebrand themselves, to have a new image, as if they're putting out a new pop album, as if they're Taylor Swift or Madonna, will not work. This story is going to stick to them for the rest of their lives and potentially their children too.
Well, one more issue regarding them is I don't believe, without Virginia Giuffre alive any longer to testify against Andrew, that may be a dead end. But what about the possibility, Rob Shooter, that Andrew can be prosecuted for misuse of his position and misuse of the Met, the Metropolitan Police, and or Scotland Yard?
Yeah, I think both are very, very much a serious issue for him. If he indeed encouraged, demanded his security to dig up dirt on victims, that's a very serious crime. Plus, we've got to remember too, Andrew's finances are very dodgy. Nobody really knows where his money comes from. The royal family do not like to talk about money. They don't pay taxes on all their income. There's lots of loopholes here. Andrew has opened up a kettle of fish now for all the royals, because now people are wondering, how is he paying? What is he doing for a living? How does he have all this money? And so the investigations into Andrew are just beginning. They're far from over.
And I do not remember anything. I've racked my brain. That's me, but whether that's my hand or whether that's the position, I have simply no recollection of a photograph ever being taken.